So, good morning. Today we are going to see the NCRT questions of our class 9. Today we are going to see the NCRT questions of class 9. See our first question. The first question is said that which of the following are metal? So, out of this, there is chair, air, love, smells, heat. Out of this, just wait for a second. Out of these, which are matter? Now, what is matter? Matter is anything that is space and occupies some volume in it. So, out of this, our matters, chair and almond, you see, these are the two matters which are present in what state? Solid state. Cold drinks is also a matter, but this matter is present in liquid state, right? While our air is present in the gaseous state. Okay. Our smell, our thought, it does not have any mass, so it does not have as such, it is not matter. Now, you give reason why the smell of a hot food reaches you several meters away, but to get the smell of cold food, you need to go closer. Right, so whenever something is cooking in our, whenever some food is cooking, is being cooked at our home, so when the food is just being cooking, means when the food is hot, we can feel the smell, right? From even in from our study room, we can feel the smell also. Or, but when that this food itself will get cool, we do not get the smell of this food. Why? Because when we are cooking, the kinetic energy, solid generally has a very small kinetic energy, right? But when we are heating, its kinetic energy is being increased. What is kinetic energy? Kinetic energy is half mv square, and velocity is being increased. Since while cooking or while boiling, the kinetic energy of the solid particle is increased, the kinetic energy of the solid particle is increased. So what will happen? The smell will reach much faster to our nose. Then you see a diver. Who is a diver? Diver is the one who take a deep dive into water. Who take a deep dive into the water. So diver is able to cut through the water in a swimming pool. So in a swimming pool, a diver can easily cut through. Then which property of matter does this? So what is this property of matter? See the ability of diver to cut through the water. Why a diver can cut through the water? Because in water, we have earlier seen that in matter there are some space between the particles, and in liquid also there are much more space than what solid. So since there will be a space, so a diver can easily pass through them. A diver can easily pass through them. Then what are the characteristics of matter? I think we know them. What are the characteristics of matter? Right? We know what are these characteristics? What are these characteristics of matter? That matter has spaces between them. The particles of the matters are continuously moving, and also they attract each other. And also they attract each other. Now you see, here we have to just arrange in order of increasing density, what are mass per unit volume. So highest density will be of iron, then chalk, then honey, then water, then exhaust from chimney, and then air. Then we have to say the difference between the solid, liquid, and gaseous in a tabular form. So this is the tabular form difference. Definite shape and volumes, right? Solid has a definite shape and volume. Liquid does not have a definite shape and definite volume. It neither has a definite shape nor it has a definite volume. Similarly, solid is an incompressible. It is compressible, high compressible. We discussed this earlier also. Just go to them once. What is the reference of the term rigidity? Rigidity is what? Rigidity is hardness. When a substance is very rigid, what will happen? It can resist any amount of change you are giving to it. Right? It can resist the change in the shape. Compressibility. Compressibility means you can reduce the volume of anything. The meaning of compressibility. Fluidity is the amount of movement. Is this movement? What does shape represent? Shape represents some certain boundary. Kinetic energy is the energy possessed when the molecule is not moving. It is for possessing some energy. Half mv square. So this is the density is mass per unit volume. Next question. A gas fills completely the vessel in which it is kept. Why? Because there is a very little intermolecular force of attraction between the gases. Since it is very little intermolecular force of attraction, it just covers the entire volume. Gas exerts pressure on the walls of the container. Since gas are at constant random motion, so the particles that is present in the gases, they are constantly moving in different directions. So at certain point of time, they will be colliding with one another, and they will be also colliding at the walls of the container since they are in constant motion, and that is why they will give the pressure. A wooden table is called as a solid. Why? Because a wooden table is solid because it has a definite shape and it has a definite volume in it. See, we can easily move our hand in air. You just move your hand and see you can easily move. But you cannot do the same through a solid block of wood. If you have a block of wood, solid block of wood, you just cannot do it through a solid block of wood. Right? You cannot do it through a solid block of wood. It is practically not possible to do it through a solid block of wood. Why? Because air has a large number because the space between the particles in air is much more as compared to the space between the particles of the wooden block. Liquids also see here it is said that while the ice floats in water, see what is density? The density is mass per unit volume. Density is mass per unit volume. Density is mass per unit volume. And ice has a lot of space. The space between the particles of the ice, there is a lot of space between the particles of the ice. And since there are a lot of space between the particles of ice, there are a lot of space between the particles of ice, that is mass per unit volume of ice is lower than water. And since mass per unit volume of ice is lower than water, that means the density of ice is lower than water. And since the density of ice is lower than water, so what happens? The ice floats. The ice floats on water. The ice floats on water. Okay. Come to our next topic where we need to convert them. We need to convert 300 Kelvin into degrees. So just do the 300 minus 273, you will get your answer. You need to convert 573 Kelvin into degrees. So what you will do? Just do the difference. So it will be getting the answer. Next, what is the physical state of water at 250 degrees centigrade? 250 degrees centigrade, what will happen? It will exist in gaseous state. 100 degrees centigrade is the boiling point. So there will be an equilibrium between the liquid state and gaseous. Because this is the point where just the boiling starts. So there will be an equilibrium between the gaseous and liquid state. For any substance, why does the temperature remain constant during the change of state? Yes, because we have seen that when we are moving from solid or liquid or gaseous, temperature, when you provide the heat, the temperature is not changed because the heat is being used here to decrease the force of attraction between the molecules. And since the force of attraction between the molecules is decreased, the change from one state to another state, and that is why there is no change in temperature here. Next, how can you liquefy the atmospheric gases? You can liquefy the atmospheric gases by applying the pressure. Now let us look at the question of let us look at the concept of evaporation. Let us look at the concept of evaporation once again. What is evaporation? We have said that in evaporation, some molecules from the surface, by gaining heat, they go to the atmosphere. And when they go to the atmosphere, as a result of evaporation, what happens? As a result of evaporation, the cooling effect happens. From the place where evaporation takes place, that particular place becomes cool. Now says why desert gets cooler on a hot dry day. What happens on a hot dry day? On a hot dry day, there will be more amount of evaporation. And since there will be more number of evaporations on a hot dry day, the there will be much more what there will be much more cooling effect in the surrounding. And also in a hot dry day, the amount of water vapor present in air will be less because there will be less humidity. So since due to the less humidity, what will happen? There will be a continuous evaporation. Now, why do you keep the water in an earthen pot? It is motka. Have you seen that motka? Right. Some people actually this thing happens in village actually. Some of us also may kept it. That in motka the water is kept for cooling. And why it is so? Because in earthen pot or motka there are some pores, and through these pores evaporation happens. And whenever evaporation will happen, the immediate consequence will be the cooling. See, why does our palm feel cold when we put some acetone or petrol or perfume in it? Why does it will feel cold? Because it will result to what? Evaporation, and evaporation will give us cooling. Okay, here you see, because it depends upon what. There are two container is given. These two container is given. We say that from one we can sip quickly. Why? Because saucer has a greater number of the surface area as compared to cup, so you can do it. So this again you see this question. Why do you eat what type of clothes? So it is right. We will take the cotton clothes because cotton clothes are very good absorber of water, and in summer they will do what lot of sweating, and this sweating is being absorbed by the cotton clothes. So we wear cotton clothes in summer. Next is that we have to convert this following temperature in Kelvin scale. That means we just add them onto 273. Get your answer. Now you give reason why the naphthalene ball disappears with time. Because naphthalene undergoes sublimation. Naphthalene undergoes sublimation. And what is sublimation? The change from solid into directly into gaseous state. Since it directly changes solid into gaseous state, so it does not leave any solid, and all of the solid gets converted into gases. We can get the smell of the perfume sitting several meters away. Why? Because perfumes are mostly gases, and gases can easily diffuse. This is the again the arrangement we have to do based on the your force of attraction, right? So see this being solid is the highest molecular force of attraction. This one is a liquid and followed by gases. 20 degrees centigrade water will be water is what in the liquid state 20 degrees centigrade. 0 degree centigrade again this is the point where freezing starts, so there will be an equilibrium between solid and liquid. It will exist in both solid and liquid state at 0 degree centigrade. At 100 degree centigrade it will exist both in liquid and gaseous state. Now why water at room temperature is a liquid? Because it has all the water at 25 degrees centigrade has all the characteristics that a liquid show. That means it does not have a definite shape at that temperature. It flows easily at 25 degrees centigrade. An iron alumina is a solid at room temperature. Why the iron alumina is solid at room temperature? The iron alumina is solid at room temperature because at room temperature it has a definite shape and size, right? And see definite shape and size it has. It is also rigid. Why ice at 273 Kelvin is more effective in cooling than water at the same temperature? Why? Because ice has an additional latent heat of fusion. So ice has an additional latent heat of fusion. What does produce severe burns? Boiling water or steam? So steam has a more energy than boiling water. so it produces more severe burn. So thank you for today's class.